now so people can start putting their names in the box and stuff, Mark, so
Yeah,
that we
I
can get
really
started
think
on
we
time.
should because it's if we wait too long, we're going to end up starting late. I I would rather give the speakers enough time to do. Uh,
Okay, Mark?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, here we go. Rich, can you put that in the chat box again really quick too so that they know?
So much thanks to Heather, who is going to advance slides for us. And so folks can just say next slide as needed. Next slide, please,
Good
if that's
morning,
okay.
everybody. If you could just put your name and your region and your email contact in the chat box, we'd appreciate it. We'll be starting momentarily.
Can we take the slides down until after we've done our welcome and remembrance, please?
Absolutely.
That way I get to see all these smiling faces.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. If you, as you may have seen as you're coming in, just put your name, your email, and your region that you are representing, please. And if you are a presenter, please put your agency next to your name, please.
You love everybody but me, right?
all right, so we'll get started in just a minute. Let's give maybe one more minute before we start. And looks like we still have some people coming in. Talk amongst yourselves. Anybody remember the old Saturday Night Live coffee talk? The two women that did that coffee talk, oh my God, they were funny. That was the old Saturday Night Live.
Before my time.
If you could put your name, your contact, and your region in the chat, please.
Don't understand this, why?
All right, why don't we start out? I don't want to start too late and cut things short. So welcome everybody. We're very happy that you're here today. Thank you for joining us. We're going to do a couple of things that we normally do on our weekly statewide peer network check-in call. And once we get through those two things, then we're going to turn it over to Mark and his group. So welcome. We appreciate you being here. Dawn, you want to do the remembrance?
Absolutely. So good morning, everybody. Welcome again. Thank you for joining us today. It's going to be a great conversation. So we would like to take a moment now to do remembrance of those that we have lost throughout these 40 plus years of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. We have, in the last year to 2 years, lost some very important people. One which just happened recently, Mr. John Hatchett. For those who have did trainings throughout the state, he was an instrumental part. He was one of the first trainers I had in New York State with LTI. So he was a great, great guy, and he's going to be missed. So if we could just take this moment again to just remember those that we have lost to HIV and AIDS and COVID also and other things, and just take that moment now, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dawn. And yeah, I have to say, you know, and thinking about last night, it just kind of popped into my head that John Hatchett was really the starting point for many HIV positive people wanting to go back to work. My journey started in 1997 with John. So as a friend, a colleague, a peer, you know, we lost a very dedicated, compassionate person. So thanks for saying that, Dawn. And at this time, we don't want to delay, so let me turn things over to Mark. And at the end of this presentation today, we are going to have a couple of announcements just to let you know. So Mark, you want to take it from here?
Thanks so very much, John. And I guess we could bring the slides up. I'm Mark Misrock, and I use he and they pronouns, and I am the executive director of the National Working Positive Coalition. And I'm also the lead trainer and curriculum developer for the training center for expanding employment opportunities for people living with HIV in New York. And I am a longtime HIV survivor. It is the 40th anniversary this summer of my at least 40th anniversary of living with HIV as I know it, which feels kind of intense to say. And I came into this work as a very frightened and deeply depressed person living with HIV, not realizing that I was coming into peer work when I did. I started as an unpaid volunteer with an agency that, quite honestly, I started to work with as a volunteer because I hoped they would help me. And it was a sort of pioneering HIV employment program in California, where I was living at the time. And I clung to them because among the challenges with my survival at that point was that I wasn't eligible for disability benefits at that point yet and needed to work to survive. and didn't have a completed education. I started but dropped out of college. Had almost no skills in terms of work or even an idea of what I could do. And so it was through my own experience of struggling to find help because I felt like I was just circling the drain. I was driving a cab at the time, which I thought would be a cool, adventurous job to do for a few months. I ended up taking 7 years before I could navigate a way into a different line of work that fit my needs emotionally, psychologically, and physically. And it was that process that powerfully and deeply impressed upon me how important access to employment related information services and resources were. And it became my own life's work since those years, which were the early 90s. I'm super grateful to the New York Statewide Peer Network and to the AIDS Institute for supporting the development of the idea of this incredibly exciting to me meeting that's happening this morning. As far as I know, it's the first time ever that there's been a statewide meeting focused on resources to address employment related needs for information services and resources of people living with HIV in New York. I feel like this is a little bit of a demonstration project being presented virtually, which in many ways makes it more accessible to more people in more parts of the state. There are some extraordinary resources that we do have in the state that I'm all too aware of as being completely absent in most of the rest of the country. Next slide, please. And I do want to say that I'm immensely appreciative of the New York Statewide Peer Network, but more specifically of John Wickiera over many months now, who's been cultivating and nurturing the seedling that has become this meeting. Next slide, please. I do want to focus on the opportunity for anybody joining this meeting who hasn't been connected with the New York Statewide Peer Network to know that it meets every Monday from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. as a chance to hear what's happening in the HIV community and across New York State, and for people who are or are considering becoming peer workers to connect and share information and support and participate in advocacy and networking. And this information, I understand, can be shared with everyone who's joining this meeting following it by email. Next slide, please. I'm going to share 2 slides that I have taken that are created by the CDC, which are like a thunderbolt in my consciousness for me, because it has helped make visible what we have perceived for a long time in our work. I am with the National Working Positive Coalition, and we focus on strengthening responses to the employment needs of people living with or at greater vulnerability to HIV. And there's an extreme lack of information about our experiences, those of the 1.2 plus million of us living with HIV in this country. The information about our experiences related to employment and poverty and relationships between those and other dynamics that are commonly called social determinants of health. If you look at this slide, this is the most recent release of data by the CDC that that they put out on a yearly basis to be an annual snapshot of what's the story for people living with HIV. I'm going to tell you that this is especially important for us in New York because this data is collected from 16 states. New York is one of them, as well as 6 jurisdictions. New York City is one of them, and Puerto Rico. And so this absolutely has very powerful relationship to the realities of for us living with HIV in this state. And this deep into the era of improved HIV care and treatment, it feels intense to me to see 39% of us out of the workforce either identified in the survey as unemployed or unable to work. And to very clearly see in this figure that it's almost the same percentage of us who are living in poverty. So I am very appreciative of every opportunity I have to stretch open the doors that may allow more of us living with HIV who want to, need to, choose to attempt to escape a life of poverty that has been enforced for so many of us living with HIV. And it is a part of what gives great urgency to the work of the National Working Positive Coalition and our amazing opportunity with the Training Center for Expanding Employment Opportunities for People Living with HIV in New York. Next slide, please. This is the second of the 2 slides that is from the CDC, and this is fresh. We just received this. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks since we received this from the folks at the CDC who oversee this annual HIV data collection, the Medical Monitoring Project. And I just am showing this especially to show that nationally, the rate that is identified as just people who were identified as unemployed, to all of the people who responded to the survey by saying they're unable to work aren't counted here. This is only the people who identified that they're able to work but unemployed. It shows that nationally, 15% reported as unemployed, which is 3 times the rate. Oops. I don't know. Oh, thank you.
No, that wasn't you, Mark. That was someone else.
Okay. Sorry about that, folks. So I just want to point out that 15% of us being identifying as unemployed already is 300% of the national unemployment rate. And then if you look in the last set of bars at the bottom, you see that New York City not only has the highest rate of the 6 jurisdictions at, it looks like about 24, maybe 24.5%, a rate of 24 to 24.5% unemployed, super high rate. And we know, again, that unemployment is almost entirely aligned with poverty. And then if you look at the top section, you see that the state of New York, among the 16 states and Puerto Rico, New York, again, is way ahead with the largest rate of unemployment. So I'm 2 things at one time. First of all, super grateful to all of the efforts coming from various parts of the state government of New York, as well as community-based organizations, federal programs that are working to connect us with information, services, and resources for us to gain more control and power in considering opportunities for employment. And the other thing that I am also at the same time is very, very interested in gaining more participation of folks to help address this challenge in our state. I don't think that the improvements in HIV care and treatment are by themselves enough to address the impacts of HIV on us. And with the excitement of movements with a focus on ending the HIV epidemic, we are here and we deserve a quality of life that is humane and that is fully inclusive in our communities. Next slide, please. And I'm going to go very quickly to an introduction to what we do as the Training Center for Expanding Employment Opportunities for People Living with HIV. It's been a wonderful opportunity made possible by the New York State Department of Health AIDS Institute for us to collaborate with the Albany Damien Center, next slide, on a project that is absolutely groundbreaking and isn't available anywhere else in the country. We work with the Albany Damien Center to make available training and technical assistance to HIV service providers all across the state to strengthen their capacity to identify and respond to employment-related needs of people living with HIV. And so we have a cycle of 7 sessions of webinars that we are doing. We are doing one a month during this current year. We also provide technical assistance at the agency level, and we're currently working with Evergreen Health in Buffalo. We're working with Bridging Access to Care and Housing Works in Brooklyn. We are working with the Employment Pathways Program in Albany. And we have the opportunity to continue further into the year with other technical assistance projects with other individual agencies who are interested in expanding their own capacity to identify and address employment needs of people living with HIV in their communities. And so I very much welcome and encourage anyone in this meeting to work to have their community become more responsive to these needs. Next slide, please. In this series, we're going to do 2 webinars in the next couple of months that already have registration open on hivtrainingny.org. The first one is going to be on Wednesday, August 14th, and it's very specifically designed to assist HIV service providers. It's called Discussing Employment Questions and Needs in HIV Supportive Services. And I don't know how many folks living with HIV in this meeting today have felt that that has been a regular or a missing piece in case management, in care coordination, in supportive services for people living with HIV. And we are finding extraordinary HIV service providers participating in these trainings who are interested in increasing their ability to participate in these conversations and try to provide meaningful support and assistance and linkages. The next session in September is going to feature a panel of peer specialists in a session that we call Best Practices for Employing People Living with HIV in the HIV Workforce. And we love doing the session. It's an opportunity to present recommendations to HIV service providers for the optimal best practices for employing us within their workforce, with an understanding that it strengthens the quality of work of HIV service providers to have robust participation of people living with HIV, designing and delivering services in our community-based HIV services organization. There's a link here for registering for these webinars, as well as an email address for anyone who'd like to join our email list for the Training Center for Expanding Employment Opportunities for People Living with HIV. Next slide, please.
Mark, can I jump in just for a second, please?
Okay, John.
If you can share those slides, we can share them with our email list, for those trainings. And also, if anyone has a question, we didn't say this earlier, a question or comment, feel free to raise your hand so we can make sure we hear from you. Thanks, Mark.
Absolutely, and we're monitoring chat too, so don't hesitate. Yes, John, we are planning. So this entire slide deck from today's webinar, which is going to, as you see, include a wealth of information from many programs and many resources, is going to be available for sharing by email immediately following today's webinar. Absolutely. Now we're going to zoom in on a pretty unique system of services, absolutely unique in this country, to New York State. It's the HIV Employment Initiative, HEI, that is funded and overseen by the New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. Next slide, please. So we absolutely do not want or expect you to remember all the information you hear across today's meeting. I do want to share some very specific reasons to fully appreciate the HIV Employment Initiative, which is also known by its acronym HEI. Next slide, please. The HIV Employment Initiative, or HEI, is an extraordinary program with employment services providers working to specifically address employment needs of people living with HIV. And there are currently 5 HEI providers delivering these services based in Albany, Rochester, Long Island, Brooklyn, and the Bronx, with service areas that expand far beyond the town or city that they're located in. Most of them are located in service settings where people living with HIV access a variety of other services and have developed trusting relationships with the agencies. HEI providers not only focus on assisting job seekers living with HIV in their job searches, but also can assist them with connecting with skills trainings, certifications, high school equivalency diploma programs, or higher education degrees linking to employment opportunities. Next slide, please. There have been funds for employment programs specifically for people living with HIV included in the New York State budget every year since 1999. The HIV Employment Initiative is overseen and funded through the New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, or OTDA. The 5 HEI providers who offer employment services assisting people living with HIV to obtain and maintain employment include that includes intensive job placement services, case management services, and assistance with enrollment and training and education linked to employment opportunities. Again, I just want to reiterate, we will email all of these slides and related information following this meeting. Next slide, please. These let's see, did I skip? I think I covered this. Next slide, please. Here we go. So I want to make visible that the locations and names of the current 5 HIV Employment Initiative providers who each serve regional areas beyond their geographic location. They are the Albany Damien Center's Employment Pathways Program in Albany, Housing Works in Brooklyn, serving people living with HIV across New York City with their Ready for Work program, NADAP, excuse me, serving both Nassau and Suffolk counties on Long Island with their Nassau Employment Initiative, Housing Solutions of New York, located in the Bronx with their Just Health Employment Program, and in Rochester, the Step Up to Employment Program of Catholic Charities, Family and Community Services. I'm super excited that we've got representatives of each of these programs who will be joining us in a moment, each to share a snapshot of their services and programs. Next slide, please. So who exactly is eligible to participate in HIV Employment Initiative services? Individuals who are eligible for HEI services are interested in obtaining employment, excuse me, are residents of New York State, are eligible are authorized as eligible to work in the United States, have a documented HIV diagnosis, and have gross family income that does not exceed the current annual and monthly standard of 200% of the federal poverty level. And to give you an idea of what this looks like, here are examples of income eligibility. For a family size of 1, eligibility in 2024 is income of $30,120 or less. For a family size of 2, eligibility in 2024 is income of $40,880 or less. The email we will send to you after today's webinar will include contact information for each of the HEI providers, so you can get additional information for accessing their services. Next slide, please. So here are some good key points, good to understand about the HEI, the HIV Employment Initiative programs. The 5 HEI providers are all focused to support transitions into jobs that offer health benefits when that is the job seeker's priority. And they will also ensure that other health coverage is in place until employer-provided health benefits take effect. The assistance they provide includes helping participants to navigate work-related impacts on health, dental, housing, nutrition, and social services and benefits. In addition, they continue providing services after a participant enters employment to assist them in sustaining success on the job. Next slide, please. I am excited now to step to the side of the stage. I'm going to start introducing one by one, and this is in alphabetical order of agency name, the 5 HIV Employment Initiative providers. And I am very happy to start with our partners at the Albany Damien Center to discuss the Employment Pathways program, their HEI program. I'm going to turn the floor over to Sarah Miles.
Hi, thank you, Mark. My name is Sarah Miles, and I have the pleasure of working at the Albany Damien Center. And the program is called Employment Pathways, as Mark mentioned. I also want to just have Jay, I know they are on the call, if you could do a little wave and say hello. We will be providing contact information in one of our slides to our team here.
Next
So,
slide, please.
yep, thank you. So the Employment Pathways program is situated within the Albany Damien Center. It's on site at our location on Madison Avenue, which includes a number of facilities that our members can access. And folks who are members of our overall Albany Damien Center, those who are interested in pursuing employment, then engage in our Employment Pathways program. But just to give you first a snapshot of what the Albany Damien Center was founded in 1988 as a resource for people and their families living and affected by HIV and AIDS. And our current mission, we just updated, is to enhance the lives of people with HIV, mental health, and homelessness in a safe, inclusive environment. And our overall vision is a more equitable community where people achieve their desired potential. And that really resonates with the Employment Pathways program. So next slide, please. Let's see what we're doing there. Before I go into that program, again, let me just give you an overview of how it's situated within, a wraparound support structure for our membership. And we are located in Albany, but we do serve the capital region and beyond. Our neighbors to the north as well as to the west. So we have all these potential opportunities, as Mark had mentioned before, for those social determinants of health and supporting with food security. So one of our programs is Smart Meals, which includes congregate meals on site, baskets, pantry bags, and food cards, as well as nutritional health education. Housing is, of course, a very important social determinant of health. So we have some housing programs within HOPWA. We offer a program to support people to keep their pets, because we know pets are wonderful support. That program is called PAWS. One of our other AIDS Institute funded programs is our LGBT health navigation program, where we assist community members in finding affirming healthcare, as well as assistance with document changes. So there's an employment component to that program as well. The NAMES project is also within the Damien Center, and of course, we have the pleasure of partnering with Mark and the National Working Positive Coalition for the Employment Training Center of Expertise. Now we'll go into specifically the Employment Pathways program. Next slide, please. So this program offers a range of opportunities, really with the emphasis of meeting people where they're at. So that may be in a one-on-one capacity or in a group setting for life skill support, and then specifics around employment. So job readiness and preparations with a, resume cover letter interview, really with an emphasis on updating things for a lot of our new digital platforms and enhancing digital literacy amongst our members. We also have our team in the field doing job development and community resources. We've had the benefit, as Mark mentioned, of working with him for technical assistance. So really focusing on developing these linkages locally. We also help folks identify what barriers might exist to employment and then resolve them with them. So you can see the range of things. And I know there are a lot of employment folks on the call who can relate to these needs. Referrals, as well as part of our program is celebrating milestones. And I know that's built into the program, and we provide incentives to help our members achieve that. And I will go ahead to the next slide now, just so you can see who our team is. Again, Jay Fields on this call is our employment advocate. And we have a peer employment advocate, Sylvester Hart. Feel free to reach out. Contact information is included here. As I mentioned, we serve the capital region and beyond. So if you are upstate somewhere, you likely are part of our community, and so be in touch with any questions there. So thank you again for having us.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Thank you so much. Want to check and see if there's any quick specific question for Sarah before we move on. But that was wonderful, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Sarah, we
Next
do have
slide,
a question in the chat from Dawn. Do you offer referrals to possible interview attire? Here in Buffalo, we have agencies that offer first-time outfits for interviews.
Thank you for mentioning that. We have a local organization that does provide at no cost clothing, and we have a commitment with them, so we are able to help folks. Definitely identifying that under the category of barriers to employment. So not only that, the interview clothing, but say somebody's going into a job that requires specialized attire too, like protective clothing or shoes or something like that. So really, depending on what the individual's goals are, trying to make sure we identify those, and clothing is a big part. So thank you for mentioning that and giving me a chance to speak to that.
Thanks, Sarah. And we had an earlier question, Mark, I believe this is for you, regarding the income eligibility. Is the amount stated separate from or separate to those on SSD?
And that, I think, is a question asking if the income cap eligibility for the HEI program, the HIV Employment Initiative program. And my understanding, and I'll let folks working in the HEI funded programs correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is your SSDI income may be all of your income, but it would, the part of your income that it represents would be counted in your gross earnings for determining eligibility for participation in HEI programs. And I would very much invite anyone to add information or correct that if I'm misrepresenting the facts.
Good morning. That is correct, Mark.
Thanks so very much. With that, I'm going to keep us moving. We've got a lot of folks and ground to cover this morning. I'm super happy now to invite to share information about their Step Up to Employment program located geographically in Rochester at the Catholic Charities Family and Community Services, Tonette Ferrante.
Thank you, Mark. So as Mark has said, my name is Tonette Ferrante, and I work at Catholic Charities Family and Community Services. And our main office is located in Rochester, but we also have an office in the Penn Yan area.
And next slide, please.
So besides being based out of Rochester and serving Monroe County, we also serve Wayne, Livingston, and Ontario County. And there's a picture to the right of our HEI team. Next to me, going right, is Jacob Steiner. He's our coordinator and case manager. To the right of Jacob is Cassie Quick. She's the job coach. And to the right of Cassie is Jarrell, and he's our peer navigator for the program. So we make a wonderful team assisting people in finding and maintaining jobs. Next slide, please. So as Mark had said earlier, these are some specific things that we do. Besides the HEI program, we provide a holistic approach for folks that are living with HIV, and we'll go into the additional services on the next slide. But we pretty much, part of our mission is walking with the most vulnerable, is a journey towards, independence, dignity, and reach full human potential. What we do offer in our program for HEI is case management aspect, helping people get to where they need to be, removing barriers to social determinants of health, which would be, assisting them and even doing the referrals as needed, helping with health education, if somebody is interested in getting their GED, going to college, what have you, we'll assist them with that. As I mentioned earlier, we do have the peer support. We help folks with resume building. If they have a resume, maybe we'll assist them with tweaking it and teaching them the tools needed to have a updated resume. Soft skills, interview questions, technical skills if they need assistance, on their computer, doing their resume or what have you. We help a little bit with transportation, if that's referring them to our transportation program, or we do help folks with some bus passes, gas cards to get to like interviews. And we also assist people, we transport them, direct agency transport. And then we do the referrals of coordination of services, which it might be needed. Someone had mentioned earlier, as far as clothing, professional attire for like interviewing for the job, we do referrals for local areas, local companies in the areas to assist.
So now we have a question in chat about clearly appreciating the transportation assistance that you offer. And the question is, how long is the transportation assistance for? Is this bus pass for, say, the first 6 months, or is there a time limit?
So it's based on the individual's needs. If one of the barriers to get to either job fairs, get to an interview, is transportation, and that person takes the bus, we'll assist them with a few bus passes. Or if they have a vehicle and they don't have the means to get to their job fair or, first couple weeks of work, we'll assist with it. It's pretty much, I don't want to put a time frame on it, but pretty much to assist in the beginning to get things rolling until they do have a job and then can budget on their own to pay for those services.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. So how I mentioned earlier about the holistic approach. So we do the employment, but besides the employment, we're funded by the AIDS Institute to provide community-based case management, health education. We have a peer program, medical transportation, and housing. So for this medical transportation piece, if the individual needs support getting back and forth to the office to meet with their job coach or what have you, our medical transportation service would pick that up. Any other questions? Oh, and then this is our contact information. Just all of us there and how to reach us all.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
And thank you for having us.
Let's see. Do we have a question? Gwendolyn, did you have a question? I'm sorry. Yes, Gwendolyn Sullivan, please.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah, I just had a question. I just had a comment. I went through the program myself. I'm just a living testimony. I love the program. It was very successful. The staff was friendly. And due to part of the reason I am now an HIV peer navigator, because my friend Michelle Boyd, and because also Catholic Charity, this program. So this program really works, and I recommend everybody to recommend everybody. That's it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So awesome. Thank you so much, Gwendolyn.
A lot of that credit
Congratulations.
goes to you.
Thanks so much, Gwendolyn. Karen Timor has her hand raised.
I wanted to ask one of the things that I've heard is sometimes a barrier for some people in some areas is having some coaching on how to figure out their commute. So like, how do you figure out what jobs are like on the bus line that you can get to, or how do you figure out what bus you have to get on to get to the job on time? And is that possible? So is that something that you guys would do? Is there like a coach or a peer that can go with them and just ride the bus in the morning, that a couple mornings, just to get in the rhythm of how early you have to get up and which bus you have to catch in order to make it wherever you need to go?
Karen, that's a great question that actually has never come up. People that have been referred to us pretty much know the RTS, cycle and bus routes, but that would be something, if that was a barrier for somebody, that we do have a peer that could assist that person, because he knows the bus system. Absolutely.
Great. Okay, thanks.
And then just one other quick thing is we usually assist people. Many people are looking for jobs either close to their residency. So we can look and see, is your job that you want in walking distance, or do you need a bus to get there? Or do you have a car and you can get a place farther out, a workplace farther out?
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. We got 2 more questions, then we're going to have to move on. Gwendolyn?
Yes, that's part of the intake form. When you first go to the program, they ask you about these barriers, and they'll be able to assist you based upon the intake form. Is very important in all agencies to fill out.
Thanks so much. And Dawn?
Hi, good morning. So really quick, I guess this can be for any of the agencies. I know that I've heard both of you say that you do interview prep, but my question is, for a lot of people that are going back to work, they may not know the do's and the don'ts of how to, I don't know if I'm saying the right word, but behaviors in the workplace, from behaviors outside, things to do at work and things not to do at work. For someone who may not have been in work for 20 years, or maybe this is their first ever job, to just, give them a short kind of like run through of, work behaviors and ethics. So does anyone offer those type of things in their programs?
So I can go ahead and speak. So our job coach does talk to the person about professional dress code, different questions that are asked at an interview, what you should say versus what not to say during an interview. So those soft skills are being taught. Don, I appreciate this question because that makes me think about having like a class to discuss the do's and don'ts. So thank you for that. But we do teach the soft skills, but I don't know how in depth we are teaching it. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah, I just know that in conversations with people, some people, going back into the workforce are, asking questions like, how do I act? What are the work ethics? Can I be, the person that I am when I'm at home on a Saturday, right? And I mean, if they've never been in a work environment, they may not know this. And I, always want to make sure that we're not setting people up for failure, or sending them into the workforce with this information that, you are probably a great person, but once you're at work, the workplace is the workplace, and your home space is your home space. So
right.
That's
and
why
we do touch on professionalism, but thank you. Great points.
Thanks so much, Dawn. Super important and meaningful. And Tonette, thank you so very much. That was
Thank you.
fabulous. Next slide, please. We're going to invite our newest member of the team of HIV Employment Initiative programs. Super excited that we are joined by Housing Solutions of New York. And talking today specifically about their HEI program, the Just Health Employment Initiative.
All right, good morning, everyone. So my name is Catherine Galarza. I am the Senior Director of HSNY's emergency housing population, which deals with housing individuals with AIDS and HIV in New York, in addition to this new Just Health program. So
And next
next
slide,
slide.
please. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No problem. So our Just Health program we are a very small team. It involves my employment case manager, which is Janelle Medina, on with us now. And we also have a consultant who works with her every 2 weeks. And it will help really provide linkages to employment sites, but also will help run some workshops for her. So some of the things that we have are going to be some of the services that we have are case management specifically regarding employment, right? Because we do have already a housing program that deals with HIV and AIDS. That program really predominantly provides all of the other support services that are needed, such as peer services, things of the such. And then they would feed the clients who are interested in working over to Janelle Medina, who can then help populate some of the resumes and things like that. So we're lucky enough and really fortunate enough to have a feeder program to actually get the clients directly from us, but they don't only have to be HSMY EHP clients as well. So who do we service? We service all individuals in the boroughs, in all 5 boroughs, although we're predominantly based in the Bronx, who are homeless and living with HIV. What do? We help link our clients to employment opportunities. The positive to us really being a feeder agency and a feeder program is we get to hire them for other programs within our agency. So we do have some individuals who are in the Just Health program who have master's degrees, who have worked in shelters before, who have been security guards, things of the such. So because we have tons of vacancies on, for example, the Department of Homeless side or even grant funded programs, we have the ability to feed their resumes over there and really help our own community that we're trying to really help thrive and survive in this neighborhood. So where do we service? Again, all 5 boroughs. The main office is located in the Bronx. However, we do provide transportation, metro cars for them to get to and from the office, or we do have drivers on site to which Miss Medina can go to you. So either way you come to us, we go to you, you will absolutely receive services no matter what. So why? We want to really help clients build autonomy and independence. We've noticed that a lot of our clients just feel down and out, right? They're just caught up in I need to get housing, I guess, and we're not treating a lot of the root issues, but a lot of individuals lost housing not because of the virus, but because I just can't afford it. New York City is expensive and I don't have a job. And everyone's telling me, if you work more than these hours, you're going to lose your Social Security benefits, but they're not seeing the bigger picture here or the end game. So we're really helping them understand and breaking down the stigma surrounding HIV and AIDS in the workplace. And that a lot of that is no one has to know. We're not going to know unless you tell them, like your coworkers and things like that. And it really aren't any biases to it. Just come in there and work and do what you have to do. So really just helping build up their self-esteem. We do have workshops. Ms. Bedina runs workshops regarding resume building. We have donations of clothing, our own business clothing that some of our board members or members in the community or even other staff members are like, oh, I can't fit this anymore. It's been sitting in my closet for years. They've donated shoes, bags, suits, anything like that. So on the whim, if we have a client who needs something immediately, because sometimes interviews come up last minute, we have a place where they can go and get attire to look appropriate. We're trying to find linkages as well for someone like a barber who can possibly give haircuts, things of the such, just to make sure that they're presentable. We notice also a lot of the times the resume looks good, but when you get on site, you necessarily don't look the part. So we want to make sure that nothing really deters you from that. And yeah, I think I've answered it all, and this is how you can contact us. We do take referrals at jhreferrals at Housing Solutions of New York. .org, and then Miss Medina's contact information. She's the direct contact for this program. Her information is listed as well. Any questions? Did I sum it up?
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for Catherine before we move on? We're just super excited that you have joined this
Thank you.
little small but mighty community, and super excited that there is now services like yours to address employment needs of people in the Bronx. including access for folks all throughout all 5 boroughs.
Thank you.
Thanks so very much. I just want to say that I'm hoping that folks are starting to get a sense of how I think about employment services programs on an ongoing basis, which is that there is nothing even close to equality and equity in the job market, or really in this country generally. And I see employment services programs as helping to level a very unlevel playing field for communities that have really struggled with many layers and levels of inequity in access to education, as well as employment and economic opportunities. So I'm hoping that for folks who may be newer to the area of services, of employment services, I'm hoping that is starting to become more and more clear. Pedro, it looks like I see you with your hand raised. Have you got a question or comment for us?
Was more of a comment. And when I became a working peer, one of the first issues I encountered is other peers that thought that I was different. I thought I was different because I had a job, and it's not that I'm different. Is I have a job. I can't act the same way I did when I didn't, and that part is hard to navigate. That's the biggest issue we have sometimes, because some of our peers are the same peers that are coming for services, and they look at it as different because now we have a job. I'm not different. I just have a job, but I can't act the same way. I can't chill in the corner with you no more. I have a job. So sometimes that is hard to navigate as a peer. Some of us are successful, some of us are not. But that is the biggest issue we have is most of the time is other peers, not necessarily the job, but the perception of you changing.
Wow, Pedro, I really appreciate you sharing that observation from your own experience. It sounds like if I'm hearing you right, it sounds like you're saying that in some ways a disincentive to moving forward on goals for employment and increasing your own income is negative impacts from our own community.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, Mark. Hi, everybody.
So great to see you, Pedro. Thank you so much. It's very complex, and I really appreciate the complexities being brought into this discussion. I'm going to move forward to the next slide, please. Keep us moving. And I apologize if it feels like I'm being at all rough and keeping us moving, but I want to make sure that we have time for all of the amazing programs that I'm aware everyone hasn't had a chance to learn about. And so now I'm excited to move to the program located in Brooklyn at Housing Works, the pioneering and longest standing HIV employment program in New York State, which is at Housing Works. It's evolved over the years. It's currently called the Ready for Work program, and it's led by the amazing Jennifer Lester.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Happy to present the Ready for Work program. This program actually transitioned from the Second Life Job Training Program in 2018. It is a 12-week program. We run in a 12-week cycle, and it is a very intensive course for people living with chronic illness, including HIV. And it helps to build skills needed to enter the workforce or to re-enter the workforce. Soft skills such as time management, teamwork, creative problem solving. Next slide, please. Okay. The eligibility is it's internal and external. So most of our clients come to us internally through our adult day health center program as well as our health home program. So internal, it's our participants ought to be enrolled in case management for at least 3 months in order to become eligible. And we say 3 months because that gives them an opportunity to have done an assessment with their case manager when they enter the program to determine what they're able to do. Do they have the time to commit to this 12-week program, etc. They are HIV positive, and also individuals who have an active SNAP case, as well as we do service HIV negative high-risk individuals who have chronic illness such as asthma, diabetes, hypertension, substance use, a mental health condition. We also accept clients from external organizations that service people who are HIV positive. So those individuals would be either HIV positive or have a SNAP case, an active SNAP case. And of course, they would be enrolled in the case management program for at least 3 months. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is what a typical week looks like. So on Monday and Tuesdays, they do have classes. They have, on Mondays, they would have a life skills class, which teaches them things like self-esteem, emotional health. We talk about conflict resolution, sexual harassment, all of those things. We talk about communication skills, acceptable communication in the workforce, not just verbal, written, but also nonverbal communication. And from 2 to 5, they are they're meeting with their job counselor. So they meet with their job counselor weekly to talk about work-related issues. So they're going to identify together, they're going to identify their strengths, and they're also going to identify areas that they need to improve on in order to get employment and to keep employment. On Mondays, they also meet with the placement specialist who teaches a career lab where they learn to do, again, things, what the do's and don'ts in the workforce, how to set boundaries. Again, we stress the communication, and this is the person who will actually link them to employment. So they do the resume. If they already have one, we're going to look at it. Maybe we need to upgrade it. If they don't have one, we will help them create it. And on Tuesday, they also have a computer class. We work with the Brooklyn Opportunity Educational Center, and they have the opportunity to get their Microsoft Suite certification. And we have a health and wellness class where we talk about some of the conditions that our participants are living with, or give them information that they can help others with. Again, those who did not meet with their counselor on Monday will meet on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Thursday, and Fridays, we have an internship component to the program. So it's 20 hours a week of an internship. They receive a stipend of $10.50 an hour for each hour they work in the internship. And that is where they get some of the hard skills to complement the soft skills. Next slide, please. We also offer the OSHA 30 General Industry Certification, Flagger certification, and of course the Microsoft Suite certification I mentioned before, because we want to make sure when our participants leave the program that they're equipped with the skills needed to get employed. And do I have a next slide? No more slides for me. So I'm sure when Mark sends out the email, our contact information will be included. And that's our Ready for Work program.
Jennifer, thanks so very much. Let me check and see, does anyone have any questions for Jennifer? And any questions about the Ready for Work program?
I don't have a question mark, but just a comment. I think it's very exciting for me and important that you skills on the Microsoft Office, because I know even for me when I started working like Excel and PowerPoint, I had no idea how to do that, and a lot of that was needed in the positions that I was going into. So I think that that is so great that you're teaching that, even if it's just basic intermittent information. I mean, even with the email systems, they're all different. You have Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, you know, and so if you don't know how to navigate those, you can get frustrated. So I'm excited that you do that.
Thank you.
Me too. When I registered with Employment Services at the very beginning, I was very insecure about my capability of working with computers, and I had never even learned how to type, or so I could only use a keyboard with two fingers. And some of the first steps working with the employment program that were, I think, therapeutic for me, that kind of gave me hope to keep trying to make change, was the support that they gave me for steps that I could take to, first of all, learn how to use 10 fingers on a keyboard. Thank you, Mavis Beacon. And also to take an intro to computers class and then get introduced to the Microsoft Office suite. I can't tell you how big it was for me when I was fearful about my ability to do that, and discovering I was capable of learning how to do a few things and that I could actually start to do more than I thought I was capable of. That's among the impacts that these programs have for folks who don't
Yeah.
get that help.
Mark, if I may, I would like to add something I neglected to mention, that we do work with the Family Center to give people information on what it means to work and how that may or may not affect their benefits. Yes, and we do that through a member of the Family Center meeting with our individuals, and they also have the opportunity to schedule one-on-one counseling sessions to address their individual situation. Thanks.
It's awesome. And we're going to have a presentation on the Benefits Counseling Pilot Project in just a little bit further into our meeting today, which is among the key jewels of the resources here in New York State that I prize most highly. I'm super happy now to go to the last of our five, but far from the least of our five HEI HIV Employment Initiative programs, inviting to join us from NADAP and to talk about the Nassau Employment Initiative, which serves people living with HIV across Long Island and Nassau and Suffolk County. I'm going to turn it over to Joseph Sarno.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Mark.
Next slide, please.
Yes. So my name is Joseph Sarno. I've been managing this program for over 8 years now. And it's been around for actually over 9 years in Long Island. And we provide a wide range of services for our clients who are HIV positive. And we have a central office in Hempstead in Nassau County. We encourage clients to come to our office to utilize our services, but there's a wide range of ways we meet with our clients and assist them with job readiness and job placement. And that includes, it could be virtual, like over Zoom, phone call, text, email. We also provide virtual workshops that came from the pandemic when we were isolated. So we have that service that we provide. And so that could be for like time management, how to prepare for a virtual job fair or in-person job fair and stuff like that. It's a very individualized service. So we conduct intakes, assessments, and enrollments with every client, and we assess what their needs are and how we will be able to overcome the barriers and challenges they're facing. And so it could be for updating their resume, creating a cover letter, one-on-one interview prep, how to prepare for a job fair, how to, for example, to dress appropriately, bring resumes, prepare like a 15 to 30-second summary about who you are and what you want to do for your career. So in that in our office, we have a computer lab, which they can access if they want to use the computers to do some job searching, and then apply for jobs, or complete trainings that are through the computer. It's a voluntary program, so that means clients that we let them know that what they put into the program is what they get out of it. And we do the best we can to assist them in getting those job placements. And even after job placement, they're still part of the program, and we can assist them in the future with job replacement, how to manage any difficulties they're having at the new job. So we go through every step of the process to ensure that they are successful in what they're looking for. And that's about it.
And here we have the contact information that will be in the slides for Joseph. And then again, these slides will be shared with everybody. Joseph, thanks so very much. We're going to jump forward in our slides just a little bit so that we can manage our access to one of the very cool programs in the state that I think complements the HIV Employment Initiative and really all of the programs that we're going to spotlight during the course of today. I'm super happy and really thrilled that April Watkins is joining us today to talk about the Path to Jobs program. So we'll go to the next slide. Thanks so much.
Good morning, all. My name is April Watkins. I'm the Chief Program Officer of Path to Jobs. We are new, small, and mighty. Path to Jobs is kind of a sister agency morphed out of the Alliance for Positive Change, because Alliance had and has a huge peer workforce, and they wanted to be able to move individuals into outside employment. So Alliance actually employs a lot of peers. It's actually a beautiful thing to see and watch. But PATH was created because they wanted people to have more opportunities to work outside of the Alliance. And we really wanted to create a dynamic peer workforce that would potentially reduce stigma about peer work, and also offer positions in the peer sector with better living wages. And that's what PATH is on the path to do. So we service people in New York, all boroughs. We also have the opportunity to service people in New Jersey and Connecticut. We have an office in Albany, which this individual works out of the Albany Damien Center, which we're really grateful for them for allowing us to have that space. And we actually opened our doors to our first clients in April 2023, which is where we made our first 2 placements. And just to let you know, those individuals are still working, and we're very proud of that. Our median range of the hourly wage that people get for these peer positions is between $21 and $24 an hour, which we are happy about. We help individuals with the training through Alliance and through some other training agencies to become certified as Sherpas and community health workers. We have a lot of referrals we get from exponents for people completing their KSATs, and we get them jobs and internships within other organizations that lead to, potential full-time positions once they become fully certified. If you become an actual member of Path to Jobs, we will assist you with paying your testing fee for full certification, not for like provisional or T's or stuff like that. But when you're ready to do the actual full certification, Path will assist you with that money. One other thing I just want to say real quickly, we service a large amount of HIV positive individuals, but we also service HIV negative, right? Path to Jobs is open for whomever. We focus on the peer sector because we felt like that was the biggest space that we had to move these individuals into work with their lived experience, which really, it's a skill in itself. And we have individuals that come in who are formerly incarcerated, former substance users, homeless, mental health issues, and they want to give back or give some insight to other individuals coming into this path of employment or, staying sober and going to meetings and connecting with the hospital, staying in care. And who better to help another individual than someone who looks like them and has, had the same type of experience. And so we've been successful in that way. So PAC offers job readiness training, workshops on health-related skills, confidentiality, health literacy, career development, resume writing, digital literacy, time management, the whole spiel. We do one-on-one support. You get an assessment the day you come in. You also get benefits counseling, based on whatever benefit you receive or no benefit, how that maneuvers with you. We've been very fortunate to be able to provide the benefits counseling for individuals who solely stated that they only want to work part-time. And we were able to show them what their new budget would look like, even if some of those benefits went away, because the jobs that we were getting them actually paid more money than their benefits did. So one of the biggest things people were worried about was their health care. And the thing for me is that most of them were on Medicaid if they received the benefit. And we just, introduced them to the ADAP program, what that looks like for ADAP to pay the premiums for the insurance that they might take if they wanted to use their job insurance, or if their salary was, on the same cusp as what ADAP, would pay for insurance, then they would actually get that. We worked on individuals who received the benefit from HASA to let them know that they had 6 months where they could actually get all their benefits and still work. And then we helped them with that transition. Like after the 6 months, you're going to have to pay 30% of your rent. This is definitely going to go away. That's going to go away. So everyone is prepared for the change. And I'm very proud of the work that we do. And, I started as a peer 18 years ago, and there was nothing to tell me about benefits or this or that. You know what I'm saying? You either did it or you didn't do it. I was fortunate because my parents helped me, and, I had stable housing in my mom's home. I didn't have to stress about where I was going to live or how I was going to eat. So making the move to employment was really easier for me. And I had worked in the past, but that's not everybody's situation. And so when you make people comfortable and you let them know step by step what's going to happen, it just really breeds, a feeling of, okay, I can do this. Okay, I know what's going to happen, and make, the changes and, get yourself prepared for the things that's going to happen. Next slide. That's it? Okay, but let me say this. In telling you the story about when we started in April 2023, PACT has placed 89 individuals in employment. And, retention is a big, big deal. When you're thinking about people getting jobs and do they keep them, do they lose them because of behaviors and stuff like that. We have a whole PSC training, that we've created, which is like 15 modules. And what these trainings do is help people understand their behaviors in the workplace and how they lead to losing their jobs. And so we help them do that. We also offer support to the employers, the supervisors of our peers. We have a training that we give to them because some of them come in with their own biases and their own feelings about what peers can and cannot do or should do. We teach them about not separating peer groups and peer meetings. And if this person is an employee of you, regardless of whatever their title is, they need to be in the meeting with the whole rest of the staff and not like have these segregated spots that peers live in, because that always makes them feel less than. And that's one of the points we try to do when we're thinking about removing the stigma. But out of this 89 placements that we've made since then, and you figure April 2024 was a year, and we did almost 100 placements. And I have to tell you that 67 of those individuals still kept their jobs, right? Some of the other individuals that didn't fall into the 67 decided to opt out and go back into training because the level of income that they wanted wasn't going to happen in the position that they was. And so those individuals we're still working with. We
Awesome.
Yeah, we're open for walk-ins Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. We're open 4 days a week in New York. We have a remote day on Friday. The Albany office is open intermittently because the gentleman that we have there works out of the Albany Damien Center as well as the ASAP office, which helps with certifications. So we've been very lucky to have community partners that are willing to help us, make a stand and grow, these contracts that we have, they're coming to an end. We're kind of struggling to get money and keep things rolling. So we think that creating this peer workforce, especially when you think about OASIS and the mandated, Sherpa and CHW peers that they have to hire, we've been very fortunate that we came in at a time where these human service organizations have to hire peers. Yes, I see some hands.
Got Dawn Trotter up first.
Hi, bro.
Hi, Dawn.
So my question is, I hear you speaking about different certifications. So I just want to kind of make sure that we're clarified on the CHW is the community health worker. Do you assist peers? So you know that we have the New York State Peer Certification Program.
Yes.
And so just, making the clarification on the different certifications.
Yes.
You assist people like kind of directing them to the New York State HIV training website, and so
Absolutely.
Certification.
Absolutely. And there's different certifications, and we know that we're also funded by AIDS Institute, and we understand that we really need the peer certification specialist certification. Most individuals that come in want that quick fix. They know that the CHW and the Sherpa trainings take less than 2 weeks, and they could become a provisional trainee and still get a job. It's really been a harder push to get them to commit to the peer certification training for the specialists because it's a longer process. But we still tell them what the benefit of that is. So we lay all the certifications on the line for individuals to do that. And one thing that I know is that we have a big, or I say a large portion of the individuals that come into our agency have had some form of substance issue, whether themselves or a family member. And so that's where their thinking goes, and not necessarily, about their HIV. And so that's been a challenge for us, but we do send them through the website. We get referrals from, other training agencies, to help placement, because we place them with their provisionals and their, T's certifications. We get them jobs, and then we track their practicum hours to help them move towards becoming certified, And, it's about what people want to do. We don't push anybody to do anything. We suggest, we give them the benefits of all the certifications, and it's just about what they want for their lives. And we're hoping that we can get a larger group of people to do this, the specialists, because they can work in all the areas that one certification gives them, sticks them in one pocket, whereas the peer specialist can, put them in many pockets. And so that's the benefit of that. Thanks for that question, Dawn. Anybody else?
We got John up next.
Yeah, so thanks. Hi, April.
Hi.
I'm glad you and a few others you raised the concern about retention, and obviously this is with employment, not patients, right?
Right.
And I think that's really important because without retention of your staff and peers, I think, being a very important part of the staff, without that component, I think programs are at risk of not surviving. It's not because well, let me just say this. I think it's very beneficial to have trained peers on staff to help keep programs moving forward. The pay component is so important that you mentioned as well. And I really think that the other piece was the training for supervisors. I've brought this up before. I remember years ago going to a supervisor training And there was a person from an agency that at least 2 or 3 times the person said, well, this is a difficult population to work with, and referring to HIV positive people. And finally, the last time I said, I'd appreciate it if you'd stop saying that. I'm one of those people, and I don't think of myself as being difficult unless you push
Absolutely.
me.
Absolutely.
But I think the
Unless you
point
start
is
with me.
that,
Yeah.
we need to make sure that supervisors are appropriately trained as well to know, all the differences between the different types of peers that are out there. So good job. I think all of you are doing some great work. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest components that we added, especially when we're trying to, speak to employers about hiring our people. We're like, hey, we're gonna come in, we're gonna help your supervisors, we're gonna do these trainings. If you have any issue before things get, bad, call us, talk to us. We're in constant contact with our job seekers, which is what we call them. And, we tell them, if you have any issues, you call us and let us know. And we work with the employers. What I love about what PATH has done is that all these employers are ours. They're not people, employers that we don't know. Like, some of them have called us and said, hey, can you help us, fill these positions? So they know who we are. They know what we're offering, what we're going to do. And I think just starting out of the gate with knowing that you have many different supports to help keep your workforce stable is very important to employers as well. And especially, for our job seekers who know that we got their back, regardless of what, we're fighting and advocating for higher salaries for them, for, whatever they need to stay stable in their position, we're going to advocate for. And, so this is my contact information. We also have a website. You can see there, you can send your job seekers to the website and have them just go on. There'll be a little pop-up message that'll ask them just for their name, their email address. It'll ask you, how did you find out about PATH? And it asks you, how would you like PATH to contact you? And then that's all, then we do the outreach to them. Or you could just have them email me and I forward their emails to the case manager to begin the process of enrollment. Thank you so much for having me.
April, thank you so very much. I really tremendously appreciate you joining us to spotlight Path of Jobs, and what a cool program. I hope folks really explore and take advantage of it. Take care, April. Talk to you soon. I know you got to jump off.
Yes.
And now we are going to jump back. I think it's to slide 41. And it feels like it's a very logical next step to get to invite to speak to us about the New York State Peer Worker Certification Program, one of the titans in our field for people living with HIV working in the workforce. Justin Legressi from the AIDS Institute.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you
Next
very much
slide.
for that introduction. And I can call my slides. And I think Heather is running the slides for us. Thank you for that. Or is that Mark? Are you the person behind the slides today?
No, thank you for reminding me to give thanks to the amazing Heather O'Connor, who is the National Working Positive Coalition's communications specialist, and among the mighty people living with HIV working with us today, and so appreciate her behind the scenes support today. Thanks so much, Justin.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone for coming to the meeting today. Really appreciate the number of folks we have on the call, listening to these presentations, learning more about the employment opportunities that exist in New York State, in your local areas, and the wonderful, wonderful programs and the great work that's been going on in relation to employment for folks with HIV. We were offered an opportunity to talk about the New York State Peer Worker Certification Program today. So of course, we jumped at the opportunity to share just a few slides, and we have just a limited amount of time today. So there's a lot more that goes into the program, but this is just a basic overview of what our program is and what it does for people. Before I jump into the rest of the slides, I do want to acknowledge two folks who are instrumental to the program that are with us on the call today. You know him, you love him. His name is Stephen Seabor out of Stony Brook University. And I saw him in there somewhere. And he is our go-to guy for everything peer worker certification related. And then also with us today is Dawn Trotter, who also is a member of the Stony Brook University team, who helps out with the program, does a lot of questions. You're gonna probably talk to Dawn before you get to Stephen. So that's a good person to make friends with if you have any questions about the peer worker certification. And also, you know, not to toot their own horns, but Stephen and Dawn are both very big advocates for the cause. They have had decades and decades worth of experience in other programs. So I don't want to make it sound like they only work on the certification program. They have done many different things over a career of advocacy and a career of professionalism in HIV, in the field of HIV needs. Myself as well, it's very similar. I started at Chickatelli Associates. Before that, I had a 501c3 nonprofit foundation that did a summer camp for HIV positive kids. We had a drop-in center, a tutoring center, all that jazz. And I myself was born with HIV in 1983, making me 41 years old and living today still with HIV, thankfully, you know, moving forward and working on things like the New York State Peer Worker Certification Program. So let's go ahead and jump right into the next slide. Our program was originally set up to ensure that peer workers across New York State were able to use their shared lived experience to recognize that experience as professional experience. One day, we hope to be able to reimburse HIV and HCV and harm reduction related peer services as Medicaid reimbursable services, so that our agencies that employ peer workers can get reimbursed through Medicaid for these services. So that's the long-term goal. Next slide, please. How this works and who can be certified. The program itself is administered from New York State Department of Health AIDS Institute, specifically the Office of the Medical Director and our Education and Training Division. That's who I work for, is Education and Training. And that's how I am the program coordinator for this program. Our second leg of this program is Stony Brook University. They run the Certified Peer Academic Center. That's not, Stephen, I'm sorry, that's not correct. It's the it's a little backwards on the slide because I always get that wrong. Peer Academic Certification Center. So I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name right now. And then the final leg is the New York State Certified Peer Worker Review Board, which is a review board made up of certified peer workers around the state who help to guide the program, and they provide the voice of the program through all of the peer workers through the state. And that's a position that also has the final say on someone's certification. They review the applications, they check it off, and they also help to steer the program to make sure we're meeting the needs of the community. So these three significant pieces make up the program. I don't want anyone to think that it's just AIDS Institute and New York State Department of Health out here running this certification program, because it's not. There are two very important partners we have. And when we talk about certification and who can be certified, it's anyone who has a shared lived experience living with HIV, living with HCV or cured or currently on treatment, which HCV hepatitis C virus, PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis. So anyone who's ever used PrEP can become a certified peer worker. And our newest track is before I get to our newest track, someone accessing harm reduction services, primarily needle exchange, but any harm reduction services that have been utilized by someone can qualify for a shared lived experience to become a certified peer worker. And our newest track is for those who have involvement with the criminal justice system. So any of those shared lived experiences qualify you to participate in this program and become a certified peer worker. One of the things we point out to folks who are going through our process of becoming a certified peer worker is that you must be comfortable sharing your experiences with HIV, with harm reduction, with hepatitis C, PrEP, or criminal justice. The expectation of your confidentiality is not paramount to the services being provided by our certified peer workers. So that is to say that if you're going through this and you're a certified peer worker in HIV, people will assume that you are HIV positive because it's part of what you need to be qualified for the program. Next slide, please. So what are the requirements to actually do the program and become a certified peer worker? You have to get a free account on our website, hivtrainingny.org. You sign up, you go to the peer certification tab, you put in and begin your application for certification. You have to choose a track. You can choose multiple tracks. So for example, if you're HIV positive and you also have experience in harm reduction or HCV, for example, or all three, you can certify in all three tracks as long as you meet the shared lived experience. Then you have to do 90 hours of training. You have to do a 500-hour practicum. There's a supervisor evaluation piece here where the practicum is supervised by someone and they rate you on certain categories, and that has to be completed and uploaded. We actually like folks to check in with the supervisor evaluation because if that doesn't pass, then we have to do it again. And we ask folks to, work on, not being late to the office or work on this skill that came in as needs improvement. There is a exam for each track, and you must pass the exam with 75% or better. There's a code of ethics we ask folks to sign. You must complete an updated resume and attach that to your application. There are 3 short essays, and these are one of the most important things that we look for applicants who are looking to become certified. Their statement of lived experience. Why do you want to be a peer worker? What do you think would make you a good peer worker? And we weight those statements very, very strongly. That really tells us at AIDS Institute, the folks at Stony Brook, and the review board who this person is. And a lot of our folks get nervous about the 3 essays, but they don't have to be. You can get, someone, if you're not good at typing, like we don't count grammar, we don't count punctuation, anything like that. We want to know the person's story. And we have had folks ask us, I'm better at speaking my story. Can someone else write it for me? And that's completely acceptable. As long as that's the person saying their story, like not someone, plagiarizing and writing it for them. Finally, the last 2 pieces, there's a self-care worksheet, and the most important piece is receiving that final approval from the review board. And there's also a component to maintain certification. Like most professional certifications, you must do some stuff to maintain that certification. And what we do for our program is we ask all of our certified peer workers to complete 10 hours of training every year. You recertify every 2 years, so you need 20 hours every 2 years. Next slide, please. One of the second to last slide we have for you today is we wanted to tell folks about our newest track, the criminal justice track. We started this work around February 2022 after many discussions internally at AIDS Institute. We set up some subcommittees. We did some surveys. We talked to the community. We had key informants involved. And then all throughout this process, we came up with and approved a new track for our certified peer workers for criminal justice. So folks today can now begin the journey of becoming a certified peer worker in criminal justice. And what's happening now is we have several curricula that are in the stages of being piloted. We're actually looking for some volunteers to help us pilot these trainings. You'd be a participant, and you can give us some good, if you think you can give us some good feedback, we'd love to see you in one of these pilots starting in August and going through November. And folks will be able to do these and become a certified peer worker in criminal justice. So we're expanding our program bit by bit here with this new track. Next slide, please. And then lastly, if folks want to contact the AIDS Institute side of the program, this is the team at Education and Training that works on this. I recommend starting at the bottom of that list and starting with myself and contacting me. If for some reason you can't get in touch with me, you can move up to Rachel Newport, then you can move up to Rob Curry, and our new director at Education and Training, Shannon Mason. Stephen and Dawn will, if you don't mind sharing your contact info in the chat for us, please, just so folks have it. And that is a little bit about our program. And I'm going to just scroll through the chat, see if I see any questions. I see there's a couple. I see Dawn, you have your hand raised. Please go ahead, Dawn.
And I just want to mention also to anyone who is certified or becoming certified, I now offer office hours every Wednesday from 10 to 12 a.m. You can schedule an appointment with me during that time, or you can just email me to schedule time to meet with me, and I can assist you with finding classes, letting you know how many hours you have, and any questions that you may have to become certified or stay certified with your renewal hours. So I'll put my email in the chat. Please reach out to me. I am here to help and assist you.
One thing I wanted to add too, folks, is that we here at AIDS Institute, when we have colleagues who are in different departments and they manage maybe STI clinics or they manage contracts with hospitals, they sometimes have written in their funding contracts that they must hire a peer worker. Sometimes it's a certified peer worker. And I can't tell you the number of times when I talk to these folks or I talk to staff from these programs that they say, oh, we had such a hard time hiring a peer worker. Every peer worker we hired didn't work out for us because they just didn't have what it takes to be a peer worker. And I asked them, I said, hey, are you hiring certified peer workers? Like what was up with that? And they, most of the time, they tell us that they did not know about the program. And then I get to do my whole spiel to them. I can tell them, like, you know, our certified peer workers come with a set of competencies. If you're an HIV peer worker, we at the AIDS Institute guarantee that if you're certified, you know about HIV testing, you know about patient navigation, you know about linkage retention to care, you know all these things, and you come in with these competencies because we say you are a certified peer worker. And a lot of times like, oh, wow, you know, hey, how can I get my job postings sent out? Because we have openings and we want to hire someone like that to fill this position. And it's really great for folks to achieve their certification, not only because it helps you with employment and to be better employed, more gainfully employed in most cases. We do see it be a benefit for peer workers who become certified.
Thank you so much, Justin. What an amazing program. The only one of its sort that I'm aware of in the country. And it is here in New York State. I am someone who felt like my own constricted life as a person living with HIV was cracked open by the opportunity to move into peer work, quite honestly. I also am aware that that folks living with HIV, that one size does not fit all. And so I am super excited that the resources exist for people who may benefit similarly from the opportunity to move into peer work with incredible supports and training and resources. And I'm really appreciative of everyone who's presented today, including with a focus on resources for peer workers. I do want to encourage that we are very clear that as one size does not fit all, that there's a variety of potential best avenues and paths for people living with HIV related to employment or self-employment. And as a collective initiative, we very much want to be very much tuned into what the self-determined goals and priorities are for people living with HIV, and for those options and opportunities to be as broad as possible. And a component of that is for me very much in moving to the next slide, the similarly only in New York State available resource that is, as I mentioned earlier, for me, a jewel, which is the Benefits Counseling Pilot Project of the AIDS Institute, which is still relatively young and super rare and super important because the history throughout the epidemic for the overwhelming majority of us living with HIV is that we have lacked access to information and counseling and services and resources to be able to make well-informed decisions about employment if we're enrolled in SSI, SSDI, HASA, Medicaid, Medicare, ADAP, APWA, and these decisions are very complex and fraught for our personal best interest. And so I'm extremely proud as a New Yorker that we have the Benefits Counseling Pilot Project. And with that, I am going to turn it to the great folks from the program to move us forward in presentation about this resource.
Thanks, Mark, for that wonderful introduction. And I am Deb Hannon, the Initiative Director. I'm also joined by the Contract Manager, Natalie Charles, and the Assistant Bureau Director, Allison Pierce-Wendell, who are AIDS Institute staff that are extremely knowledgeable and able to assist our two Benefits Counseling Pilot Project contractors. Now, before I hand it over to them, I have one piece of very exciting news. Benefits Counseling Project is now graduating and will no longer be a pilot project. It will be joining the AIDS Institute's array of services and recognizing the commitment the AIDS Institute has towards really making sure that folks can make educated decisions about returning to work, changing jobs, or understanding their benefits. And I thank you, Mark, for really underscoring and really emphasizing just how important this information and knowledge is. So this being said, I'm going to hand it over to the folks at the Legal Wellness Institute at the Family Center and COAC.
Thank you so much, Deb. So my name is Lauren Groach. I am the Director of Legal Services at the Family Center. I also direct our benefits counseling work. So I'm going to give a very sort of brief overview of what the what benefits counselors do, and talk a little bit about eligibility for the program, and then Denise and Paulette from COAC will speak more in depth about what exactly benefits counselors do. So the idea behind the program is that, you know, one of the barriers to employment for folks who are living with HIV is that sort of stuck place that you can get in when you are you're sort of surviving, right? And benefits like Medicaid, cash assistance, HASA are, you know, that those are sort of your lifeline, right? To getting your meds, to maintaining housing stability, to you know, being able to access the services that you need. And you want to move beyond surviving into thriving. But what if you lose those services? What if you lose Medicaid? You know, if anyone here has ever seen one of the bills for your, you know, your ART regimen, you know that those drugs are very expensive. You know, what if you lose your housing if you earn too much? And so we want to empower folks with the knowledge of how work might impact your benefits, and how you can kind of work in the system. And when I say the system, I don't really mean a single system, right? People have to navigate really complicated benefit systems that all have different rules about how they treat earned income versus unearned income, you know, whether they have sort of grace periods for earnings, how you're supposed to report your income, what their income limits are. And, and a lot of these programs have sort of work incentive programs attached to them that are available to beneficiaries to help them re-enter or enter employment for the first time. And our benefits counselors have extensive specialized training and credentialing in understanding those work incentive programs and understanding sort of the budgeting rules and reporting rules for all of the benefit programs that are available for people who are living with HIV in New York State. I want to just mention a couple of unique things other than that specialized training about the benefits counseling pilot project. One is that the benefits counselors are sort of housed within organizations that receive LASIF funding. So basically, there are also legal services providers and attorneys within the organizations that the benefits counselors are working in, which means that there's a really sort of direct connection to legal help if you, and possibility for sort of a warm handoff if you're working with a benefits counselor and a question about your benefits turns into an overpayment, a termination, and you need legal support. So having that sort of close connection to legal services, I think, is really key for this program. And then, the other thing that I think is important to mention about benefits counselors is that part of their role is also to help folks connect into all of the other employment-related services that are available to folks who are positive living in New York State. I think I'm ready for the next slide. So who is eligible for benefits counseling services through the pilot project? This is, I think, entirely, if I'm wrong, please correct me, Deb, Ryan White Part B funding. And so it's the Ryan White Part B criteria. And we need to get documented proof that folks are diagnosed with HIV. Both of the pilot project providers who are currently operating are in New York City, but we can provide virtual services to folks who are residing elsewhere within New York State, but you have to have New York State residence, household income of not more than 500% of the federal poverty level, which I think for a household of one is around $15,000 a year right now. That's 100%, so 5 times that. That's around $75,000 a year. And benefits counseling is especially helpful and is really geared toward folks who are working or returning to work, looking for a job, who want to know how their earned income is going to affect their benefits. But that is at this moment it's not a requirement that you be working or be actively looking for work right now. So anyone who meets the sort of 3 top criteria, who has questions about their benefits and budgeting, can access these services. I think I'm going to turn it over to Denise now.
Thank you so much, Lauren, and thank you everyone for sticking with us. I know we're in that final stretch, so I'll make it super, super quick. I just want to make 2 very quick highlights. And again, just so you guys can kind of see on the slides here, our benefits counselors have like a very, very wide range of expertise. But we also recognize that like one of the biggest barriers is like that fear around losing your benefits if you work over a certain amount of hours. And this is really where our staff shines. They're extremely knowledgeable about like your benefits, making sure you don't lose anything. As Lauren mentioned, it's very scary when you can't afford your medications or you can't go to appointments because you have issues with like your Medicaid or just a wide range of issues. So this is really where our staff comes in. And as we mentioned, this is like with the help of the AIDS Institute, our staff get a ton of training. So they're always up to date with any trends, any changes. And kind of also, as Lauren mentioned, what makes our programs extremely unique is that both at the Family Center and also here at COAC, we tie our benefit counseling program to our legal services that we provide. So that's helping them with advocate for their benefits. And as we kind of see the huge common theme right now that we're also seeing is housing being like one of like the key issues. So our attorneys can help them advocate for housing, advocate for their benefits, like reach out to the HASA workers when I know sometimes that's like a huge challenge within itself. So really our organizations both kind of can help all of the clients that hopefully all of you guys send us your way after this. And if you could switch to the next slide, we have both of our contact information on there. I believe both of our navigators are also on the call. I don't know if we have a brief, like quick second to give them a shout out because they're the ones that get to do all of the direct client. I know Paulette's on it. And then Lauren, do you have your benefits?
Yeah, Jorge's here. Jorge, maybe you can leave.
Shout out to our workers. If you guys just want to say hi real quick so everyone could put like a face to the name when you guys give us those calls. Are you guys on?
Hello, hi, I'm Jorge. I'm with the Legal Wellness Institute at the Family Center and a certified benefits counselor here.
Hello, I'm Paula Solomon. I'm the benefits counselor for COAC, also certified.
Awesome. But yes,
Oh, awesome.
thank you guys. And again, our contact info is there. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Thanks so very much, Denise and Lauren and Deb. What a remarkable resource. We're so excited to hear that so very appropriately, the new benefits counseling project is being institutionalized within the AIDS Institute in support of us living with HIV and considering our options and best paths forward in considering and pursuing employment while enrolled in public benefits. Thank you all so much. We are at the end of our time. I know that the amazing Heather O'Connor has to jump off and get into another meeting right at noon. And so I think it's okay to pull off the slides, Heather, and open up to John to close us out. I am excited that John has planned with Karen Timor from the uninsured care programs for a full presentation about the extraordinary range and depth of services and resources provided by uninsured care programs, including very strategically supporting people living with and working with HIV. As someone who depended on that intensely myself for many years, navigating from SSDI and Medicare into employment, I'm so grateful that exists, and I'm so grateful that John and Karen have put their heads together to plan a full presentation of the full range of those programs and services on August 5th. Over to you, John.
Thanks, Mark, and thank you, everybody. This was really amazing. I learned a lot. I don't know it all, that's for darn sure, and I learned a lot about what you all do. So this is great. Any of the programs that presented are welcome to join a network meeting. We can schedule you in to do some more talking about what you do at your agency. So if you want to do that, just let us know. Karen and Joey will join us on August 5th, like Mark was saying. We do it maybe every 6 months, I think, or so. We have updates from ADAP, and that is really a great meeting, because between the two of them, your questions will get answered, or if they don't have an answer, they will get in touch with you personally after the meeting. So please join us. Rich, thank you. I see you put our meeting topics in the chat. It's just great to see this happening, because it's been talked about for such a long time. So thank you all. Karen, can we save the chat and include it in with this? Oh yeah, we have all that recorded. Yep. Karen,
Next week, guys, next week, come with your ADAP questions, ADAP APIC, how to keep your health care as you go back to work next week, right here.
There you go. Yep. And it just, like I said, thank you, Mark, and thank you to your crew, and thanks to the co-chairs, the network co-chairs. Great job, everybody. Thank you so much. Enjoy your
John,
day.
John, before you close out,
Yeah.
can I encourage anyone who's not 100% certain that they are already part of John's email list and would like to receive the slides and information related to this webinar to enter your email in the chat if you would like to receive those and aren't sure you're listed to get them. And John, I have to, before you close out, if we could just check in 1 second. I want to make sure that I saved the chat because there was some great information in there.
Oh
So,
yeah, we have
so if you could hold off.
we record all of that. And if you, like Mark was saying, if you want more information about our meetings, if you want to schedule a time where you can come and talk, I did put it in the chat. I'll do it again. Our email address is nyscheckin@gmail. Feel free, just reach out so we can connect with you. We can add you to our email list. I think it would be wonderful if you could share our flyer, you know, with the people that you work with too.
John, Mark, would you all mind staying on with me for a few minutes after we officially close out the meeting?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
I am saving all of these emails too onto a Word document, John.
Oh, they're all that's good, but it's all recorded, so it's easier. But that's good.
Yeah, thank you very much. Y'all have a nice day.
Bye,
Oh, thanks so much, Gwendolyn.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Oh, you
your
put my face.
participation.
So my name is Gwendolyn. Y'all been hearing from me and put my face with my name. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Hi, Kevin. Did you need anything or have any questions or want to share a comment before you take off? Oh,
All right, Don, you can feel free to hang out too. So first of all, congratulations, everyone. I thought this was excellent. I thought this went really, really well. I know there's a lot of information, a lot of talking.